Welcome to Adobe Illustrator CC 2021 Classroom and Book, Chapter 14, Creating Artwork for a T-Shirt. This is part number 2. We're working on creating how to break those symbols. So we went ahead and we're trying to break a link to this middle symbol to make it a little bit different than the others. So let's go ahead and do a Control minus and zoom out a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. What I want to do is change the top of the one surfboard without changing the point on the other. So let's go ahead with our direct selection tool, and we're going to drag across until we get those points to show up. And now let's go ahead and move one of those anchor points so you can kind of see how we can change the shape a little bit. Let's see, grab one of those anchor points, kind of make it a little bit different. Totally up to you as to how you're going to make this. That looks awful, huh? So maybe I'm going to make mine have a little bit of a, there we go. So yeah, you can see I've got my one that's got something different than the other two. Or maybe I want to go ahead and grab my direct selection. Select our selection tools, grab our direct select, and let's try, maybe I want to move those all together. You know, kind of change. It's totally up to you as to what you're going to do with our friend the surfboard here. All right, so now I've gone through, I've changed it, I've broken it so it's different. So let's go ahead now, do a select and deselect. Hope I don't have anything selected. Let's go ahead and now we want to arrange those surfboards. So let's go ahead and grab our selection tool. And let's click on the first board. Let's grab our shift and select all three. And let's go ahead and group them. So now we can go ahead and do a object, arrange. And we want to go ahead and do a send to back. So it's going to go ahead and pull those flowers and things behind. So good, Control minus, so you can kind of see a little bit better what we have going on. And now let's go ahead and replace some of these symbols. So let's go ahead and do a select and a deselect and a Control S to save. So now let's go ahead and play with that funny little fish we've got on the bottom again. Let's grab our selection tool and grab that bottom little fish. So if I decide I don't like to have the fish that I've got right there, I can actually change it to another symbol. So in your properties panel, you've got one that says replace symbol. I'm going to go ahead and do my drop down. I'm going to make him a flower instead. Now you notice that your replace will actually do the same styling, do the same effects as what you've done before. So it's a little bit easier than having to go through and redo it. Now I can decide, hey, I really don't like that. I really want the fish there instead. So I'm going to go ahead and undo. I'm going to go ahead and use my replace symbol and go ahead and make him the fish. And you'll notice that we now go back to being the same color fish that we were before, and we don't have that funky other one that we made. So we like him better. Let's go ahead and do a, let's group them together. So let's go select and same, and we want same symbol instance. So it's going to select all those fish for us. And now we can go ahead and do a group. So maybe you did a whole bunch of flowers in the field, maybe you did a bunch of stars in the sky. This would be a really easy way to select those all at once. All right, let's go ahead and do a select, deselect, close our symbols group. And let's go ahead and play with creating some assets for our Creative Cloud library. So when you work with the libraries, you actually have some repeatable processes that you can use from one element to another. So let's go ahead and do a file open. And in file open, let's go ahead and grab that sample.ai. And in sample.ai, you'll see we've got a t-shirt, we've got kind of a mountainish wave shape, and one that says play zone. So we want to actually add part of these to our library. So let's go to our window and go ahead and open libraries. And it should open those libraries tab. You're going to go ahead and you have one called My Library. So we want to make sure nothing is selected. So we want to grab our selection tool and grab the one that says play zone. With play zone, we're going to go ahead and drag it over to the, undo. we want to go ahead and drag it over to the library itself until we get kind of a plus sign, and then it's going to go ahead and add that element into Play Zone. Now I'm going to double click it on the word text. I'm actually going to call it Surf Zone because we're going to change the words later. And hit enter. And cancel. I don't want to move it. All right, the next thing we want to do is we want to actually save this color, this blue color that we have. So we've got Play Zone still selected. Let's go to the plus sign at the bottom of our library and say, what do you want to do? We want to have text fill color. So it's going to go ahead and save that color for us as well. And now let's grab that T-shirt and drag the T-shirt into our library. And it's going to go ahead and create that graphic. And in graphic, we're happy with where it is. Now let's grab that one more thing. We want to grab that shape. Oh, we actually just want to, we're not going to put it in the library. We're going to cut and paste with it. So let's do an edit. And let's do a copy. Now let's go ahead and close this sample file because we've got everything that we need from it. We're going to come back into our open document and let's do our view fit artboard in window. And let's do a edit and paste to add that kind of mountain shape. I'm on the wrong one, that's why. All right, so I'm going to put my mountain shape in. So I've got my mountain right there. And let's go ahead and drag it over to the side of the surfboards for now. We don't need him. We're going to mess with it here in a little bit. Next thing we're going to do is bring that play zone in. So let's grab that play zone and bring it over. Oh, we have to click it to make it come in. And let's go ahead with our text tool, and instead of play, let's make it surf. And let's grab our selection tool and grab that T-shirt and just kind of drag it in. It doesn't have to be totally in yet. You're going to have to click it to make it stay. And we'll worry about the position later. So maybe we want to go ahead and update one of those library assets. We're going to go ahead and change that T-shirt asset. So with our selection tool, we're going to go to that T-shirt shape. And we're going to go ahead and change the stroke. So let's go here to our properties. And for our stroke, we want to go ahead and make it a, oh, we want to double click it first. So let's double click it. All right, so we're in a temporary window. And let's go ahead and change the stroke. So let's grab our stroke and make it a, let's see, cyan 0, tab, magenta 0, tab, yellow 0, black is 40, and tab. And now we should get a much lighter T-shirt. And for some reason I did not. So let's go back in here. All right, so I'm double clicking my library. Okay, let's try that. Double click my stroke. One more time. Let's try this one more time. All right, so stroke 0, 0, and 40. All right, there we go, much better. Now we've got a much lighter color. Let's go ahead and do an escape and get out of that one. And escape and close it out. It's going to say, yes, you're going to change it. So now when we go back in, it's going to go ahead and have the stroke as gray. Now I don't love that. Let's go ahead and change all of it at once. Let's double click that. And I'm going to grab my selection tool and grab everything in there. And now let's go ahead and change that stroke one more time. So 0, 0, and 40. And tab. And double click. All right, now it's all nice, light gray. And a save for that one and close it. Now when I go back into my element here, it's going to go ahead and update that item. So now if I don't want it to change and update anymore, what I need to do is click embed, which is going to change it so it's not part of that library anymore. So if you change it, it's not going to do anything to it. All right, so let's now do a view, close out of there. Okay, so let's do a view, fit artboard and window. Let's go ahead and grab the T-shirt. and bring it up kind of towards the center here with our selection tool. And let's do our arrange and do send to back so that it is behind everything. And now let's go ahead and lock that t-shirt so we can't do anything with it. So do a control or command and 2. So that'll go ahead and lock that layer for us so there's nothing, we can't accidentally slide it around. Next thing we're going to do is we want to clip the surfboards to this mountain shape. So let's grab the mountain shape and bring it kind of over. Obviously it's a little bit too small, so I need to make it a little bit bigger. If you hold shift and it'll hold the proportions. All right, when I'm happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and I want to shift click that surfboard group. And now I want object and clipping mask and make. So it's going to go ahead and create that clipping mask. So now I've got that shape, that wave shape on the bottom of my surfboards, and I can kind of fit my fish in there. So let's go ahead and now put my fish up in here. I'm going to bring these two to front. So I'm going to click, I'm going to shift click, do an arrange, bring to front. I'm going to go ahead, grab my surf zone, stick her down here. And maybe the whole thing's a little bit off center, so I'm going to kind of squish it over just a little bit with my arrow keys. Or I can go ahead and drag it. It's kind of being a lot slow. There we go. Not bad. All right, so I'm going to turn my smart guides back on. All right, so you can see how easy it is when you're working with symbols to make it really simple to create some really fun stuff. So let's go ahead and do a file save. And we're going to close that one. And we're going to grab that L14 to start. And we're only going to do a couple things with that one, just kind of get an idea of how global edits work. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Let's grab our L2 start. For this one, I'm not going to make you package. I'm just going to have you turn in the 2. So I'm going to close that end. Let's grab that L14 to start and do a file save as. Let's do first initial, last name, underscore, Adobe Illustrator, Classroom in a Book, Chapter 14. Call it buttons and save. And now when we work with global edit, it allows us to create a situation where we can manipulate multiple items across several artboards without having to do a lot of extra work. So let's go ahead and do our selection tool and grab this circle on the outside of the microphone. And now we're going to go ahead and go to our properties panel and do start global edit. And you're going to see it's going to select everything. So it's selecting everything that it thinks it looks like. So we are going to go ahead and refine that a little more with the drop down. So we want to go ahead and tell it to only select things that have similar appearance. So we're saying the red is what our original, the blue is what we're copying. So let's go ahead and do appearance for the match. And you're going to see it's going to grab those 3 because it's got these have got kind of the darker in the middle, whereas the earphones do not. And the next thing we also want to match is the size. So now you can see it's grabbed these 2 because those 2 are exactly the same size. So now if I go into my stroke color, if I choose my swatches, maybe I want to do red instead. Once I do red and I click out, anything that is also that color or that shape that we've selected is going to change at the same time. So it's a really easy, fast way for you to do some changes. So go ahead and play with those global edits. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do as far as different types of selections. Go ahead and save this one and submit both items. So you've got the t-shirt and the buttons that you're going to be turning in for chapter 14. That's all.